Back in the early 70s, when John Grinder and I first got together, uh, we got together to do something, and we ended up doing other things. We ended up taking his skills and my skills and combining them. And as we did this, we kept a ledger. Ledger is this particular book right here. And it was a binder that I bought. It's just a 3-ring binder. It's got notes on almost every page that's in this. It's quite thick. And every week, twice a week in the evening, we did a 3-hour group. And they were primarily experimental to find out things that worked and things that didn't work. We tried all kinds of things. And as we did this, we came up with what the original 6-tuple, which is the calculus that we use to describe strategies and distinguish between one kind of a strategy and another. They have superscripts and subscripts, both internal, external, constructed, remembered, all of those kinds of things. And by having a calculus, it allowed us to not only keep track of things that worked and then thereby install them in other people, it allowed us to find out which techniques worked and how the technique itself worked. And it allowed us to both qualify and quantify language. Out of this grew everything: the meta model, the Milton model, all of the things in NLP Volume 1, all of the strategies about motivation and decisions. That we also had a large scroll, which I do not have anymore. I don't know what happened to it, where we put down everything that we found and put it on a long timeline so that you could roll out the scroll and see the order in which things happen. This book kind of has that in it as well, page by page, because we made notes, whether we were working with a private client and found something interesting, or we talked to somebody smart and got a good strategy. And we notated those things and used it as a discussion platform to figure out where to go next. And then we'd go back to the experimental groups, experiment a little more, learn a little more, write a little more. And this book served as a document. I kept it through the years just to remind me. It sits on my shelf. It was my book. I paid for it. And but it has both things by me and John Grinder in it that served as the very foundation of everything that became NLP and all the books that followed. The books that followed, the Structure of Magic, Structure of Magic 1, Structure of Magic 2, Patterns 1, Patterns 2, Changing with Families, NLP Volume 1, all of those original works that we did in the first few years were direct results of the experimentation that we did. That the one thing we understood is that what was there didn't work, and you couldn't get results and systematically count on them. And the more we experimented with changing the way that people thought, as John Grinder said to me one time, he said, look, he goes, I have a model of the brain, but I don't know what to do with it. And Chomsky's model of linguistics that talks about how intuitions are built and which is hardwired and what's softwired, what's learned and how it functions is a control mechanism for the brain. By having a model that can predict what you do unconsciously allowed us to be able to build a model that was broader than just language, that was all about the structure of how people thought. It was the structure of subjectivity itself. So that when you subjectively experience something, whether it's a big picture or a small picture, and the order of whether you talk first and then make a picture and then have a feeling and then talk to yourself again, and the loops that are inside it, just like a computer programmer, and it's why it's called Neuro-Linguistic Programming, it allowed us to be able to change those programs, install programs, create programs, so that flexibility in consciousness was born with that little black book back there. And all of the things that have fallen out in NLP since are a result of what John and I did in those days. That John and I worked together for roughly 10 years. and we created all kinds of things. And as far as I know, neither one of us has stopped. I certainly haven't. I've created all kinds of techniques that people use to do all kinds of things. I've used NLP itself now is a modeling tool that we can use to build models, to model how somebody thinks, so that you could recapitulate it in other people, whether you're learning languages or music or art or music or making better decisions. NLP offers this great tool to change the way you think and therefore change how you feel. So you can change what you're actually capable of doing and how fast you do it and how well you do it.